Captain Jake Morrison stared at the massive alien ship floating in space before him. After 3 months of traveling through the dark void, his exploration vessel Terra Nova had finally found something incredible. The alien ship was beautiful, covered in smooth silver metal that seemed to glow with its own light. It was 10 times bigger than any human ship ever built. "Captain, they are sending us a message," said Communications Officer Kelly Adams. Her voice was excited but nervous. This was the moment humanity had dreamed about for centuries. First contact with alien life. Jake took a deep breath. "Put it on the main screen." The bridge fell silent as a figure appeared on their viewing screen. The alien was tall and graceful, with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer. Its large eyes were kind and intelligent. When it spoke, the words came through, their translation system clearly. "Greetings, people of Earth. I am Zix Theta of the Veltari. We represent the Galactic Council, and we have been waiting for you to join us among the stars." Jake felt his heart racing. The alien's voice was calm and welcoming. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel Terra Nova. We come in peace, hoping to learn about the galaxy and its people." Zix Theta smiled, and the expression looked genuinely warm. "We know of your peaceful nature. Your species shows great promise. The Council has watched your progress for some time, and we believe you are ready to join our great alliance." Back on Earth, Admiral Lisa Carter watched the live transmission from her command center. She was a tough woman who had spent 30 years in Earth's military. Her experience told her to be careful, but the alien seemed honest and friendly. Around her, dozens of officers and scientists watched in amazement. "Admiral, this is beyond anything we imagined," said Dr. Alex Turner, Earth's top expert on alien life. He was a thin man with gray hair who had spent his whole career studying the possibility of extraterrestrial life. "They seem to have been waiting for us. They know about Earth." Admiral Carter nodded slowly. "That could be good or bad, Doctor. We need to learn everything we can about them." Commander Ben Hayes stood quietly in the corner of the room. He was head of Earth intelligence, and his job was to spot dangers before they became problems. Something about this felt too easy, too perfect. Why would advanced aliens welcome humans so quickly? He kept his thoughts to himself for now. The conversation between Jake and Zix Theta continued. The alien explained that the Galactic Council was made up of 12 different species who had worked together for thousands of years. They had created peace and prosperity across the galaxy. They wanted to share their knowledge and technology with humanity. "We have much to offer your people," Zix Theta said. "Advanced medicine that can cure diseases you still struggle with. Technology that can provide clean energy for your entire world. Ships that can cross the galaxy in weeks instead of years." Jake could hardly believe what he was hearing. These gifts could solve many of Earth's problems. "What would you ask from us in return?" "Very little," the alien replied. "We simply ask that you follow certain protocols as you join our community. These are rules that help keep peace between different species. We also hope to learn from your unique culture and the resources your world offers." The message was sent to President Maria Gonzalez, who had been waiting anxiously for news. She was a strong leader who had guided Earth through difficult times. The idea of joining an advanced galactic community excited her, but she knew she had to be smart about it. Over the next few weeks, more meetings took place. Earth's leaders spoke with representatives from different council species. There were the insect-like Krexhai, who worked together like a giant family. The energy beings, called Loom Aura, who could control electricity and plasma. Each species seemed friendly and eager to help humanity. The aliens showed Earth amazing things. They demonstrated medical devices that could heal wounds in minutes. They shared images of beautiful cities on distant worlds where different species lived together in peace. They offered to teach humans how to build faster ships and better computers. Dr. Turner was fascinated by everything he saw. He spent hours talking with alien scientists, learning about their biology and culture. Admiral Carter, these beings have solved problems we're still working on. They've created a perfect society. But Commander Hayes remained suspicious. He noticed small things that bothered him. The aliens always changed the subject when asked about their military forces. Their historical records seemed incomplete. When he asked about conflicts between species, they gave vague answers. After a month of talks, the aliens presented Earth with the integration protocols. These were the rules humanity would need to follow to join the Council. President Gonzalez read through the thick document with her advisors. The protocol seemed reasonable at first. Earth would share information about its technology and resources. Human ships would be limited to certain areas of space until humanity proved itself ready for full membership. Earth would provide rare minerals and metals that were apparently uncommon in Council space. This seems fair, President Gonzalez said during a meeting with her top advisors. They're offering us incredible advances in exchange for following their rules and sharing some resources. Admiral Carter agreed, though she felt uneasy about the military restrictions. We'll essentially be giving up our ability to defend ourselves until they decide we're ready. Commander Hayes spoke up carefully. Ma'am, I recommend we study these protocols more carefully. Some of the language is unclear about what exactly they expect from us. But the pressure to sign was strong. The aliens had shown Earth cities on other worlds where former Council members lived in luxury and peace. They painted a picture of a bright future where humanity would never again face war, disease, or poverty. The signing ceremony took place on the Council's flagship, a massive vessel that arrived in Earth's solar system. Representatives from all 12 species attended. President Gonzalez signed the document with a pen made from metal mined on a distant world. Today, humanity takes its place among the stars, she said as cameras broadcast the moment to every person on Earth. Zix Theta smiled as the document was sealed. Welcome to the Council, people of Earth. Your journey to a better future begins now. As Jake Morrison watched from his ship, he felt proud but nervous. Earth had just changed forever, and he hoped they had made the right choice. 3 years had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Council. Lieutenant Katie Brooks stood in the cargo bay of the transport ship New Hope, checking the manifest for their latest shipment to Council space. Her job was to keep track of all the supplies Earth sent to their new alien partners. She was good with numbers and noticed when things didn't add up. Today, something was very wrong with the numbers. This can't be right, she muttered, looking at her datapad. According to the treaty, Earth was supposed to send 1,000 tons of rare metals each month. But the shipment records showed they were sending almost 10 times that amount. Katie called up the previous month's records. The pattern was clear. Every month, the actual shipments were much larger than what the treaty required. She felt confused and worried. Why was Earth giving away so much more than they had agreed to? She decided to talk to her supervisor, but when she brought up her concerns, he just shrugged. Orders come from above, Lieutenant. The Council has special requests sometimes. Don't worry about it. But Katie did worry about it. That night, she couldn't sleep. Something felt wrong about the whole situation. Meanwhile, on a Council research station, Engineer Ryan Clark was having his own doubts. He was part of a joint human-alien team working on new technology. The Council had promised to share their advanced science with humanity, and Ryan had been excited to learn from beings who had mastered space, travel thousands of years ago. The reality was disappointing. The technology the aliens shared was old and clunky. Ryan had seen better designs in Earth's own research labs. When he suggested improvements, the alien scientists seemed surprised. as if they hadn't expected humans to understand their technology so easily. Why are they giving us their worst stuff? Ryan asked his colleague, Dr. Nicole Wright, over lunch in the station's cafeteria. Nicole had been wondering the same thing. She was a biologist studying alien life forms, but she noticed strange behavior from their council partners. They treated humans with polite smiles, but there was something cold in their eyes. It reminded her of how people looked at animals in a zoo. I've been thinking about that too, Nicole said quietly. Yesterday, I heard two Crex High scientists talking about humans. They used words that our translators couldn't handle, but their tone sounded like they were discussing livestock. Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. Livestock? Back on Earth, intelligence analyst Sam Rodriguez was putting together pieces of a disturbing puzzle. His job was to monitor alien communications and look for threats to Earth security. Most of the Council's messages were friendly trade discussions and cultural exchanges. But some of the coded transmissions troubled him. Sam had discovered that Earth wasn't listed as a member species in the Council's internal databases. Instead, humans were classified under a category that translated roughly as Resource World. This classification was used for planets that provided materials and labor, not for equal partners. He brought his findings to Commander Hayes, who had been growing more suspicious over the past 3 years. Hayes had noticed that human colonies in Council space were always placed in remote locations, far from major trade routes and alien population centers. Sir, I think we need to look at this more carefully, Sam said, showing Hayes the intercepted data. Something's not right about how they see us. Commander Hayes studied the information with growing alarm. He had been collecting odd details for months. Human diplomats were never invited to important council meetings. Earth's requests for information about galactic history were always delayed or refused. Most troubling, several human colonies had gone completely silent with Council, officials claiming there were communication problems. The truth came from an unexpected source. Danny Kim was a cryptographer who specialized in breaking alien codes. He had been working on intercepted Council communications for months, slowly learning their encryption methods. Late one night, he finally cracked a high-level message between Council leaders. What he read made his blood run cold. The message discussed humanity in terms that were clear and horrifying. Humans were described as an ideal worker species, intelligent enough to operate complex machinery, but naive enough to follow orders without question. The integration protocols weren't meant to welcome humanity into galactic society. They were designed to slowly strip Earth of its defenses while maximizing the extraction of resources and labor. The most chilling part was a discussion about processing facilities being prepared for human populations. The Council had been doing this for centuries, finding young species and tricking them into giving up their freedom. Once a species was helpless, they were moved to work camps disguised as colonies. Danny immediately called Commander Hayes, even though it was 3 a.m. Sir, you need to see this right away. It's about the Council's real plans for humanity. Hayes read the decoded message with growing horror. Everything made sense now. The outdated technology, the excessive resource shipments, the isolated colonies. The way aliens looked at humans like they were studying animals. Earth hadn't joined a galactic alliance. They had walked into a trap. The next morning, Hayes brought the evidence to Admiral Carter. She was in her office reviewing reports when he knocked on her door, his face grim. Admiral, we have a serious problem. The Council isn't what they claim to be. Admiral Carter listened as Hayes explained what they had discovered. The excessive shipments Katie Brooks had noticed. The outdated technology Ryan Clark had questioned. The strange behavior Nicole Wright had observed. The communication blackouts from human colonies. And finally, the decoded message that revealed the Council's true intentions. They never saw us as equals, Hayes concluded. We're just another species they plan to enslave. Admiral Carter felt sick. She had supported the treaty, believing it would lead to a better future for humanity. Instead, she had helped deliver her own species into the hands of sophisticated predators. How long do we have? She asked. Based on their timeline, they plan to begin the final phase within 6 months. They'll demand that Earth surrender all military assets for safekeeping and start moving human populations to better worlds that are actually labor camps. Admiral Carter stood up and walked to her window, looking out at the stars that had once seemed full of promise. Now they looked cold and threatening. We need to tell President Gonzalez immediately, she said. And we need to start preparing for the worst. Hayes nodded. What if they're monitoring our communications? Then we'll have to be very careful about how we do this, Admiral Carter replied. We can't let them know that we know. That evening, President Gonzalez sat in her private office, reading the classified report with growing disbelief. The evidence was overwhelming. Humanity had been deceived by masters of manipulation who had perfected their technique over thousands of years. How many other species have they done this to? She asked. Unknown, Admiral Carter replied. But based on the size of their empire, probably dozens. President Gonzalez closed the report and looked at her advisors. So what do we do now? If we confront them, they'll know we've discovered their plan. We need time to prepare, Admiral. Carter said. We need to pretend everything is normal while we figure out how to protect ourselves. Commander Hayes added, we also need to find out what happened to the colonies that went silent. If there are humans being held prisoner, we need to know where they are. President Gonzalez made the hardest decision of her presidency. We'll play along for now, but start making plans. If the Council wants a war, they're going to get one they never expected. As the meeting ended, Admiral Carter realized that humanity's greatest test was just beginning. They had learned that the galaxy was not the peaceful place they had hoped for. It was filled with predators who saw humans as prey. But the Council had made one crucial mistake. They had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt and fight back. Soon, they would learn why that was a very dangerous error. The emergency meeting took place in a bunker deep beneath Earth's military headquarters. President Gonzalez had called together only her most trusted advisors. The room was shielded from any electronic surveillance, and everyone inside knew that. Humanity's survival depended on absolute secrecy. Operation Dark Fleet begins today, Admiral Carter announced to the small group. We have maybe 4 months before the Council makes their move. We need to be ready for war without letting them know we're preparing. Commodore Jake Morrison, recently promoted after his successful first contact mission, spoke up. Admiral, building a war fleet in secret won't be easy. The Council monitors all of our major shipyards. That's why we're not using the major shipyards, Admiral Carter replied. She activated a holographic display showing hidden locations throughout the solar system. We're going to build our fleet in places they don't watch. Asteroid belts, dark nebulae, the far side of distant moons. General Tony Parker studied the map carefully. He was in charge of Earth's military construction projects, and his mind was already working on the logistics. We'll need to move materials without attracting attention. Small shipments, different routes, make it look like normal mining operations. Exactly, Admiral Carter said. Commander Hayes will coordinate the deception. We keep sending regular shipments to the Council. Keep attending their meetings. Act like nothing has changed. Commander Hayes nodded grimly. I've already started planting false information in our communications. If they're monitoring us, they'll see reports about Earth's peaceful development projects and cultural exchanges. The plan was ambitious and dangerous. While maintaining the appearance of cooperation with the Council, Earth would secretly build the largest military fleet in human history. They would use hidden bases, coded communications, and a network of trusted personnel who didn't know the full scope of the operation. Chief Engineer Rachel Stone was put in charge of weapons development. She was a brilliant woman who had spent years studying alien technology. Now she would use that knowledge to create weapons specifically designed to fight Council forces. "We have one advantage," Rachel explained to her secret research team. "They showed us their technology, thinking we were too primitive to improve on it. They were wrong." Rachel's team worked in an abandoned mining facility on Titan, Saturn's largest moon. The location was perfect, far from Earth's main population centers, and hidden behind the planet's massive rings. Council ships rarely came this far into the solar system. Working around the clock, Rachel's engineers took apart every piece of alien technology they could find. They discovered weaknesses the Council had never bothered to fix, because no one had ever challenged them before. The Krexhai shields were strong, but operated on a single frequency that could be disrupted. The Loom-Ara energy weapons were powerful, but left their ships vulnerable to electromagnetic pulses. Each species had grown comfortable with their superiority and hadn't prepared for an enemy that could adapt. "We're not just building better weapons," Rachel told her team. "We're building weapons they've never seen before." Meanwhile, Dr. Turner and Dr. Wright worked together to understand their enemies. They studied every piece of biological and cultural information about the Council species, looking for weaknesses that could be exploited. "The Veltari are telepathic, but only with their own species," Dr. Turner noted. "They can't read human minds, which means they can't predict our tactics." Dr. Wright added her own discoveries. "The Krexhai hive mind makes them incredibly organized. But if we can disrupt their communication, they become confused and helpless." Their research became the foundation for new strategies that Earth's military had never used before. Instead of fighting like humans expected to fight, they would adapt their tactics to exploit each species' specific vulnerabilities. The construction of the secret fleet began in earnest. Captain Lucy Chun commanded the first stealth destroyer, Shadow Strike, built in a hollowed-out asteroid between Mars and Jupiter. The ship used new technology that made it nearly invisible to Council sensors. "It's like nothing we've ever built before," Lucy reported during a secure communication with Admiral Carter. "Silent, fast, and deadly. The Council won't see us coming." Other ships followed. Battle cruisers armed with weapons designed to penetrate alien shields. Fighters that could outmaneuver anything in the Council fleet. Transport ships that could move troops and supplies without being detected. The most ambitious project was the construction of hidden military bases throughout human territory. General Parker oversaw teams that worked in complete secrecy, building fortified positions that looked like normal research stations or mining operations. Commander Hayes managed the intelligence network that kept track of Council movements and intentions. His agents, disguised as diplomats and traders, gathered information about alien military capabilities and positions. "They have over 1,000 ships," Hayes reported during one briefing, "but they're spread across the entire galaxy. They don't expect any real resistance." The deception was working perfectly. Earth continued to send resources to the Council and attend diplomatic meetings. Human colonies still reported their activities and requested supplies. To outside observers, humanity appeared to be settling comfortably into their role as junior members of galactic society. But beneath the surface, something deadly was growing. Dr. Wright made a breakthrough in biological warfare research. She discovered that several Council species had specific genetic vulnerabilities that could be targeted without harming humans or other aliens. "It's not pleasant to think about," she told Admiral Carter privately. "But if they plan to enslave us, we need every advantage we can get." Engineer Ryan Clark, who had first noticed the problems with Council technology, was brought into the secret project. He helped design new human ships that could interface with captured alien systems, turning the Council's own technology against them. They built their ships to be operated by specific species, Ryan explained. But we're adaptable. We can learn to use their equipment better than they can. The final piece of the puzzle came from an unexpected source. Danny Kim, the cryptographer who had decoded the Council's true intentions, discovered the locations of the missing human colonies. They're all in the Outer Rim, he reported. Remote systems where the Council has been testing their control methods on other species. Admiral Carter realized that any military action would have to include rescue operations for the humans already trapped in Council space. This made the mission more complex, but also more urgent. As the months passed, Earth's secret preparations accelerated. Weapons production increased. New ships left hidden shipyards every week. Military personnel trained for operations they had never imagined. The most important development was the creation of artificial intelligence, systems specifically designed for warfare. The Council had been amazed by human AI technology, thinking it was just advanced computing. They didn't realize that humanity had created something far more sophisticated than anything in galactic history. Our AI doesn't just follow orders, Rachel Stone explained to the secret military council. It learns, adapts, and makes decisions. In battle, it will give us an advantage no Council species can match. President Gonzalez received regular updates on the project's progress. The burden of keeping such a massive secret was enormous, but she knew that humanity's future depended on maintaining the deception until they were ready. How much longer? She asked Admiral Carter during one of their private meetings. 2 more weeks, Carter replied, and we'll have enough ships and weapons to make our move. Commander Hayes had been monitoring Council communications closely. They're getting impatient. I'm seeing increased chatter about moving to the final phase of their plan. Then we'll have to move first, President Gonzalez decided, on the hidden base where Captain Morrison was training fighter pilots for the coming war. The final preparations were almost complete. The pilots were the best humanity had ever produced, trained specifically to fight alien enemies, using tactics that had never been tested in real combat. Remember, Morrison told his pilots during their final briefing, they think we're weak and primitive. That's their biggest mistake. Show them what humans can do when we fight for our survival. The secret was almost too big to keep hidden any longer. Across Earth and its hidden bases, thousands of people were preparing for a war that would determine humanity's fate. Ships waited in dark space, weapons were loaded, and soldiers prepared to fight an enemy that had enslaved entire civilizations. Admiral Carter stood in her command center, looking at displays showing the positions of Earth's hidden fleet. In just a few days, those ships would emerge from the darkness and strike at targets across the galaxy. The Council wanted to make humanity their slaves, she said quietly to Commander Hayes. Instead, they're about to learn why underestimating humans is the last mistake many species ever make. The trap was set, and soon it would spring. The Council inspection team arrived at Earth's orbital station without warning. Zix Theta led a group of alien security officers, their faces no longer showing the friendly smiles that had welcomed humanity 3 years ago. Their mission was routine, or so they thought. They had come to check Earth's compliance with the integration protocols. Before moving to the final phase of their plan, Admiral Carter watched from her command center as the alien ship docked with the station. She knew this moment would come. Eventually, the Council was ready to drop their mask and reveal their true intentions. Admiral, they're demanding immediate access to all our military records, reported the station commander. They want to inspect our weapons and defense systems. Give them what they expect to see, Carter replied calmly. Show them the official records and the old equipment we've been keeping visible. But 6 Theta was more thorough than expected. The alien leader's security team found hidden weapon platforms that Earth's engineers hadn't been able to completely conceal. Energy readings that didn't match the official reports. Technology that was far more advanced than anything the Council had shared. What is the meaning of this? 6 Theta demanded as Carter arrived at the station. The alien's graceful features were twisted with anger and suspicion. You have violated the integration protocols. These weapons were not declared. Admiral Carter looked at the alien leader with steady eyes. 3 years of pretending to be grateful and submissive were over. The integration protocols were based on lies, 6 Theta. We know what you really planned for humanity. The alien's face went pale. Around the docking bay, Council security officers reached for their weapons, but Carter raised her hand to stop them. I wouldn't do that if I were you, she said quietly. Your ships are surrounded. 6 Theta looked confused until alarms began, sounding throughout the station. On the viewing screens, shapes began appearing in space around the Council fleet. Dozens of human ships materialized from nowhere, their stealth systems shutting down to reveal the largest military force Earth had ever assembled. Impossible, 6 Theta whispered. Our sensors detected nothing. Your sensors detected exactly what we wanted them to detect, Carter replied. She activated her communicator and spoke a single word, Darkstar. Across the galaxy, the signal was received by hidden human forces. Operation Darkstar began with precision strikes against every major Council military installation simultaneously at Kepler Station, the Council's primary fleet base. Commodore Morrison led the assault with overwhelming force. His battle group emerged from the dark nebula where they had been hiding for weeks. The Council forces were caught completely off guard. All ships, attack pattern Alpha, Morrison commanded from the bridge of his flagship Retribution. Target their command vessels first. The human ships moved like nothing the Council had ever seen. Instead of the rigid formations that galactic warfare had used for millennia, they flowed and adapted, changing tactics every few minutes. Captain Lucy Chun's stealth destroyers appeared and disappeared, striking vital targets before vanishing. Again, the Council's mighty war fleet, which had dominated the galaxy for thousands of years, found itself helpless against an enemy that refused to fight by established rules. Sir, they're not following any known tactical doctrine, reported. Panicked Krek's High Fleet commander to his superiors. Their ships act independently, but coordinate perfectly. It's like fighting a swarm of predators. That was exactly what Morrison had intended. Human military doctrine had been completely rewritten for this war. Instead of treating ships like moving fortresses, they used them like hunting packs. Fast, deadly, and impossible to predict. Captain Chun struck at the Council's communication relays, using weapons specifically designed by Rachel Stone's team. The alien networks, which had connected their forces across the galaxy for centuries, went dark in minutes. Communications are down across 7 sectors, reported intelligence officer Sam Rodriguez from his monitoring station. The Council can't coordinate their response. Meanwhile, General Parker's ground forces launched rescue operations at the hidden labor camps where humans and other enslaved species had been imprisoned. Colonel Mark Johnson led the assault on a processing facility where thousands of humans were being held. Remember, these people have been told they're colonists. Johnson told his troops as they prepared to attack. They don't know they're prisoners. Be ready for confusion. The assault was swift and brutal. Council guards who had grown comfortable bullying helpless prisoners found themselves facing Earth's elite soldiers. The humans fought with a fury that shocked their enemies. Major Helen Foster led her squad through the facility's corridors, freeing prisoners and destroying the alien control systems. What they found made their blood boil. Humans working in terrible conditions, told they were helping build a better galaxy while actually serving as slave labor. "Get these people to the transport ships," Foster ordered, "and download everything from their computers. We need to know how many other camps there are." Dr. Wright's biological weapons proved devastatingly effective. The Council species had never faced diseases designed specifically to target their genetic weaknesses. Entire alien fleets found their crews becoming sick and unable to fight. "It's not killing them," Wright explained to Admiral Carter during a brief communication. "But they can't operate their ships when they can barely stand up." The Council's greatest advantage had always been their unity. 12 species working together with perfect coordination. But Ryan Clark's computer viruses destroyed that advantage. By attacking their translation and communication systems suddenly, Krex High commanders couldn't understand Valtari orders. Lumara ships couldn't coordinate with their allies. The Great Galactic Alliance began falling apart as species turned on each other in confusion and panic. Admiral Carter employed tactics that violated every rule of civilized warfare. Human AI systems launched suicide attacks on Council command ships, their electronic minds calculating the exact moment to strike for maximum damage. "They call this barbaric," Carter said to Commander Hayes as they watched the battle reports. "But they were planning to enslave our entire species." Sometimes survival requires ugly choices. The most shocking moment came when humanity's new AI-controlled fighters engaged the elite Valtari mind-linked squadrons. The aliens had always been unbeatable in space combat because their telepathic abilities let them coordinate perfectly. The human AIs didn't have minds that could be read. They anticipated alien moves through pure calculation and struck with machine precision. The legendary Valtari fighter wings were destroyed in minutes. "How are they doing this?" demanded a Council war leader during an emergency meeting. "These humans were primitive when we found them." "They were never primitive," replied a frightened Krex High commander. "We just convinced ourselves they were because it made us feel superior." The war that the Council expected to end quickly dragged on for months. Every time they thought they understood human tactics, Earth's forces changed their approach. The aliens, used to fighting predictable enemies, couldn't adapt fast enough. Captain Morrison led increasingly bold raids deep into Council territory. His ships would appear without warning, destroy vital installations, and vanish before reinforcements could arrive. The humans seemed to be everywhere at once. "They're not fighting like any species we've ever encountered," reported the Council's military analysis team. "They learn from every battle, can adapt their tactics faster than we can respond." Dr. Turner's research paid off as human forces exploited every weakness in Council biology and psychology. Sonic weapons that disrupted Krex High hive mind communication. Light patterns that confused Valtari telepathy. Each species found their greatest strengths turned into vulnerabilities. The Council's member species began questioning their leadership. Worlds that had been loyal for centuries started considering surrender. The great galactic empire that had seemed unbeatable was crumbling under assault by a species they had dismissed as barely civilized. "We have to end this war," 6 Theta told the Council leadership during an emergency session. "These humans are destroying everything we've built." "How?" demanded the Krex High representative. "They're using tactics we don't understand, weapons we've never seen. Every time we try to negotiate, they make new demands." Admiral Carter had indeed been making demands, not for territory or resources, but for the release of all enslaved species and the dismantling of the Council's oppressive system. She wanted complete surrender, nothing less. "You made one crucial mistake," Carter told 6 Theta during their final communication before the decisive battle. "You thought being more advanced made you superior. But advancement without wisdom just makes you a more dangerous fool." The end came when human forces surrounded the Council's home system. The massive fleet that had once been hidden in dark space now filled the sky around the alien capital world. The sight was terrifying. Hundreds of human ships bristling with weapons, all pointed at the heart of galactic civilization. "We surrender," Zix Theta transmitted on all frequencies. "The Council formally surrenders to humanity." Admiral Carter accepted the surrender from the bridge of her new flagship, Indomitable. The ship had been built specifically to serve as humanity's command vessel, larger and more powerful T. The great council chambers had been built to impress visitors with the power and wisdom of galactic civilization. Now, Admiral Carter walked through those same halls as the supreme commander of human forces, her footsteps echoing in spaces where alien rulers had once planned humanity's enslavement. 18 months had passed since the Council's surrender. The galaxy was still adjusting to its new reality, and many species struggled to understand how their perfect empire had fallen to. What they had considered a primitive world. Carter stopped before the massive viewing window that looked out over the capital world skyline. Where once only Council ships had been allowed to orbit, human vessels now maintained constant patrol. The message was clear. The old order was gone forever. "Admiral, the delegates are ready for you," announced Captain Morrison, who had been promoted to Fleet Admiral after his brilliant campaign against the Council fleet. His tactical genius had become legendary among both human and alien forces. The negotiation chamber was filled with representatives from the former Council species. They sat quietly, their proud bearing replaced by nervous uncertainty. These beings had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, but now they waited for judgment from a species they had barely known 3 years ago. President Gonzalez entered the chamber with her advisors. She had aged during the war, the stress of leading humanity through its greatest crisis showing in her gray hair and tired eyes. But her voice was still strong when she addressed the assembly. "We gather today to establish a new framework for galactic cooperation," she began. "The age of the Council is over. What replaces it will be built on truth, not deception." Zix Theta, the former Council ambassador, who had first welcomed humanity to the stars, spoke hesitantly. "What are your terms? Will you do too? U.S. what we plan to do to you?" President Gonzalez looked at the alien who had deceived her so completely years ago. "That would make us no better than you were. But make no mistake, there will be consequences for what you did." The new treaty that emerged from months of negotiation was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The former Council species were reorganized into the Galactic Cooperative, with each world governing itself under basic principles of freedom and justice. But humanity held ultimate authority over military matters and interstellar security. Human fleets would patrol every sector, ensuring that no species could again attempt the kind of deception the Council had practiced. Fleet Admiral Morrison oversaw the dismantling of Council military installations across the galaxy. The massive war fleets that had enforced alien rule for millennia were broken up, their ships either destroyed or converted for peaceful purposes. "It's strange," Morrison said to Admiral Carter as they watched the demolition of a Council fortress. "A few years ago, we were amazed by their technology. Now we're tearing it apart because we build better ships." Carter nodded thoughtfully. "They stopped innovating because they thought they were perfect. We kept improving because we knew we had to." The human technological advantage had only grown during the war. Earth scientists and engineers, no longer limited by Council restrictions, had created wonders that amazed even themselves. Their ships could cross the galaxy in days instead of weeks. Their computers could solve problems that had puzzled alien scientists for centuries. Dr. Turner established new research partnerships with former Council scientists who genuinely wanted to contribute to galactic knowledge. Many aliens were eager to learn from humanity fascinated by the creative thinking that had revolutionized warfare and technology. The Krex High are particularly interested in our AI systems, Turner reported to President Gonzalez. They're amazed that we created artificial minds that can think independently. As long as they understand the partnership is based on equality, Gonzalez replied. No more secret hierarchies or hidden agendas. Dr. Wright headed the new Galactic Ethics Committee, an organization dedicated to preventing any return to the Council's oppressive methods. Her job was to investigate complaints and ensure that all species were treated fairly under the new system. We found evidence of the Council's crimes on over 100 worlds, Wright reported during a committee meeting. Entire species reduced to slavery, others completely wiped out for resisting. The scope of their evil is almost unimaginable. The revelations shocked many former Council supporters who had believed they were part of a benevolent civilization. As the truth spread, support for humanity's leadership grew even among species that had initially resented Earth's victory. Commander Hayes, now Director of Galactic Intelligence, maintained careful watch for any signs of rebellion or deception. His network of agents monitored communications across the galaxy, ensuring that no new threats to freedom could develop. The Veltari attempted to organize resistance on 3 worlds, Hayes reported to Admiral Carter. But their own people turned them in. It seems most aliens prefer human rule to Council tyranny. That was the surprising reality of the new order. Despite initial fears, most galactic species found life under human leadership to be better than anything they had experienced under the Council. Humans kept their promises, shared technology freely, and treated all species with respect. The former slave species were the most enthusiastic supporters of human rule. Worlds that had been stripped of resources for centuries were helped to rebuild. Species that had been forced into labor camps were given new homes and the freedom to develop their own cultures. Captain Chun, now commanding the patrol fleet in the former Council core worlds, often encountered grateful aliens who wanted to thank humanity for their liberation. It's humbling, she told Morrison during one of their regular communications. These people see us as heroes, but we were just fighting for our own survival. Maybe that's what made the difference, Morrison replied. We weren't trying to conquer anyone. We just refused to be conquered. The economic transformation of the galaxy was as dramatic as the political changes. Under the Council, wealth had flowed upward to benefit the ruling species. Under human administration, resources were distributed more fairly, leading to prosperity on worlds that had been impoverished for generations. General Parker oversaw the massive construction projects that rebuilt damaged worlds and established new trade networks. The efficiency and fairness of human engineering impressed aliens who had grown used to Council neglect. These humans accomplished more in months than the Council managed in years, observed a grateful planetary governor whose world had been restored. After centuries of exploitation, President Gonzalez addressed the galaxy from the former Council chambers on the first anniversary of the surrender. Her speech was broadcast to every world, translated into hundreds of languages. 1 year ago, we discovered that the galaxy was not the peaceful place we hoped to find, she said. We learned that among the stars were predators who saw other species as prey. But we also learned that predators can be stopped by those willing to fight for justice. The speech was watched by billions across the galaxy. Many aliens had never heard a leader speak about justice and cooperation without hidden meanings or secret agendas. Humanity will not repeat the Council's mistakes, Gonzalez continued. We will not claim to be superior to other species. We will not hide our intentions behind friendly words. Our fleet patrols the galaxy not to control you, but to protect the freedom we all deserve. Admiral Carter stood beside the President as she spoke, looking out at representatives from hundreds of worlds. The burden of galactic leadership was enormous, but she was proud of how humanity had handled the responsibility. After the speech, Carter returned to her quarters and opened a communication link to Earth. Her family appeared on the screen, smiling, and proud of their mother, who had helped save not just humanity, but entire civilizations. "Are you coming home soon?" asked her daughter. Carter looked out at the stars that had once seemed threatening, but now represented hope for billions of beings. "Someday," she said. "But there's still work to do out here. The work would never truly be finished." Maintaining peace and justice across the galaxy required constant vigilance. But humanity had proven capable of the task, combining strength with wisdom in ways the Council never had thought in the months that followed. The Galactic Cooperative grew stronger. New species joined willingly, attracted by the promise of fair treatment and genuine cooperation. Trade flourished, science advanced, and conflicts were resolved through negotiation rather than force. The human fleet remained visible throughout the galaxy, a reminder that freedom required protection. But more and more, the ships served as peacekeepers and explorers rather than warriors. Young aliens grew up seeing human vessels as symbols of hope rather than conquest. 5 years after the war's end, Admiral Carter finally returned to Earth for an extended visit. She stood in the same command center where she had first learned of the Council's deception, looking up at stars that held no more secrets. Commander Hayes, who had remained on Earth to coordinate intelligence operations, joined her at the observation window. "Any regrets about how things turned out?" he asked. Carter thought for a moment before answering. "I regret that it was necessary, but I'm proud of what we accomplished. We didn't just save humanity. We saved the idea that different species can coexist peacefully. And if another threat